Hello. Welcome to
Hello.
our very first United Codes Live. Thank you so much for everyone for taking the time to join us today. My name is Jackie McElroy, and I'm joined today with Philipp Hartenfeller.
Hello.
I know you guys are all here to learn about template components, but since this is our very first United Codes Live, I wanted to go over some ground rules before we get started. We want to make sure that you guys get the most out of this session. Philip and I can meet any day and talk about template components or whatever we want to and ask ourselves questions. But the cool thing about this and the thing that makes it special is that today we get to talk to you guys. So we really want to interact with you and answer your questions and make sure you guys learn the most that you possibly can. So please, please, please post your questions in the chat, interact with us, make this as fun as possible. And we'll do our very best to answer all of your questions live here today during the hour that we have. And so with that, I will hand it over to Philip.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Yeah, I'm really excited. Now we are also doing live streams and we're doing talks on the internet. It's crazy. Yeah, this is a session about template components. I really also want to encourage you guys to just post any questions you have in the chat. We want to keep this interactive, but let's just get started and not talk too long. Template components. I'm Philip. I'm from Germany. I work for United Codes for a few months actually, and you can find me on my socials and on my blog. But okay, so I really start this template components topic always with like kind of the need of having something like this. And the thing is, mostly I guess we are developers, so we see data in tables because we of course define our data structures in tables, and so we always kind of think in tables. But in reality, like the users we develop the apps for, they mostly aren't technical database developers, so they see data in the day-to-day life a little bit different. So if you think of any social media platform or any app you use, I guess most of the time you won't see any tables. You see engaging lists. So for an example, this is actually Yelp. This is just showing like the restaurants you can go to. And instead of a table, you see this list with nice images, which content. You don't see just like statical column value. You see like open, until, etc. You see some hierarchy in the representation. So the name of the restaurant is most important. So it's bold and bigger than, for example, the tags of the restaurant. Okay. Another thing I talked a little bit about it, but like another fallacy you can have is like label value. That's also not a nice thing. So this is a bad example. It's from a book called Refactoring UI. I really recommend checking it out if you are into UX or UI stuff. But here's a better example. Just we know what the data is. We know Aaron is a name, customer support is a role, a phone number is formatted that way. We know that it's a phone number. So yeah, that's general like how we should represent data. And for that, we have template components. And that's really nice. It's like a feature from 23.1. So it's actually not the newest stuff anymore. It's in there for a year now. And the coolest thing is it's a plugin type. So you get the advantages of plugins. You can share them, you can reuse them in any apps, subscribe to them. They're really easy to implement into your apps. But The disadvantage for plugins was always that they require a lot of technical PL/SQL to get something going on. You need to know the APIs to query data and stuff. And template components are a new step in this. They don't need us to write any PL/SQL. They're really easy to implement. The only thing you need to do is actually to have some HTML, maybe some CSS or JavaScript to define the look of your data. If you are then consuming the plugin, so user 1 develops a plugin, user 2 then wants to integrate it into his Apex app, you just have a region type of that plugin, and you can just drag it into your app, put in a query in there, say which column maps to which field in my region, and then you're ready to go. There currently are 2 ways to use them. There are an own region type, so like the Yelp list, you would have like a region of all your restaurants there. But we can also use them in interactive report columns. So a single column could be a type of a template component, yeah. And most awesomely, they are shareable. So for example, we can share them with other colleagues in other apps, or we can just also share them with the community, which is nice. Okay. So, I mean, you could go ahead. You would need some HTML skills, CSS skills to make something look beautiful. But actually, we are now in the age of AI, I would say. So, in a few stuff, AI really helps us developers, and like generating HTML and CSS is really a point where AI can help. So you can actually, with a nice prompt, ask ChatGPT or any other AI to come up with a structure. So for example, what I did here, I pasted a screenshot from Yelp into ChatGPT and said, describe the list UI from the screenshot in a way a programmer could recreate it without the image. Please go into great detail. So then I just get the textual representation, or ChatGPT sometimes already comes up with HTML and CSS. But if it comes just with a description, you can ask again, please generate a complete HTML template, including CSS styles for following component, and then you will get some HTML CSS back. So weirdly, in my case, and this case is a little bit older, so I guess newer models would be a little bit better. But like it has some minor differences. For example, most obviously the ratings are in the same line as the title, and like the color thing didn't work. So open until is black and not like green for the open state in the original one. But in general, this worked out pretty great, I would say. So yeah, really what I wanted to show, you don't need to be an HTML CSS expert to get going. You can just reuse your existing, you can just use AI to get going and maybe then refine on later on.
Hey, Philip, we have
Yeah.
a question from Plowman on what is the best way to access template component attributes values using the template component custom JS files and code.
Oh, this is a really, really in-depth question already. I think I would push it to later on maybe, but that's a good one. I have already something I can show maybe later.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Plowman. Thanks, Philip.
Okay, so this is actually like, I'm done with my slides. So this will be a lot of technical demo. So as I showed you before, I have this HTML that the AI generated for me, and let's actually use this to create a template component. So I'm inside an app on apexoracle.com, and in the app, in the shared components here, let me make that bigger, we can see the plugins part here. If you go in there, we have this big create button. So let's create a new one from scratch. And then we have to give it a name. So for example, I would say like Yelp UC Live or something that describes your component. And an internal name is just an ID for a plugin. What you could do is like put your company domain. That's always a nice thing to make sure that the ID will be unique. So com dot united codes and then dot plugin name. Okay, then we have this type field, so you can say which plugin type this is. we have like different ones, but we want to use template component. This is actually also the default, and that's what we're going to use. So then we say available as, we have like a single and a multiple. A single is just not, if you have just a query returning one row and you just want to represent one row, then a single would be your case. A multiple would be like, if you have a query that returns multiple rows, you want to show a list or a report of data. And the last one just added recently, it's region only, it's without any query or without the need of any query. So we can just go the both single and multiple, but then we can't go region only. And then Apex will come up with some stuff here. So we have this partial region already. It comes up with a sample HTML in here. Then we have report row and report body. So the hierarchy is actually the other way around. So first we have the report body. So this is like the outer element, HTML element over the whole report. And then for each row, we render here a list item. And in there, this Apex $partial, this is now actually this one here. So for each row, the HTML in here would get rendered. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead, and I prepared some snippet. So it's this. And this is just what the AI generated for me. I will just paste it in here, and then I can click Create Plugin. Perfect. And then I also have like CSS. AI also provided me with some default styles. So I can scroll a little bit down here. Here's a lot of options we're going to through later on, but some point in here, there's the section called Files. We can just say create a new file, and can say directory if you want, but I will just call it styles.css and click create. And I again have prepared some styles in here, and I will just save them. We're not going to look into much detail. That's not the scope of this talk. I won't teach CSS in here, but so now we have saved this file. You can see on the left side here, there's a reference with like this short syntax, and we can just click copy here. Then we go back into our plugin here in our template component, and we have to again go back to the files here. And then here, this is important, this is what I forget many times, is we have to actually load this file. So we just paste those things we copied here. We could also copy it from here. And then we say, okay, when I have an instance of my template component on my page and I load the page, then also this style sheet will be loaded. Perfect. So, yeah.
Philip, I have another question for you from Plowman. He's on fire here. Is there any way or workaround to access attribute values in the report row section, similar to the partial one?
I think he's talking about, okay, also like, I think, sorry, Plowman, we will talk about this when we go into attributes. I think this would like confuse the other ones now, but I will keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, so now we have like created our plugin here, and now we want to actually like use it. So I've prepared this empty page here, and in here now I'm in Page Designer, and I'm going to create a region. And then on the type, we can actually see first that I have a lot of tests of this going on, but here we can see Yelp, UC Live. We can just select that region type, and then we have to assign a source like we're used to with our reports. And I have a view called Yelp view. I can just use, I think it's case sensitive. It's a view, so it won't find it on the table. So yeah, this worked. And now if I just run my page, I can see, okay, first, I have 3 rows in my view. So I have 3 instances of this thing. And okay, so it does work. You know, it's like not really showing the data yet because I just, in my HTML, let's go back into the HTML here. plugins, and UC Live. In here, I have actually just hard-coded values. So that's, of course, not what we want, but okay, first, it's nice that we see our results, so it's working. The CSS looks loaded because it looks quite nice. And then you can see here on the left side are these weird dots, right? So that's one thing that's with default stuff. So the thing we didn't touch is like we changed this partial template, but we didn't touch like report body or report row here. And the thing is like an UL, it's an unordered list with list items. It has some default CSS style, and this being like this bullet symbols of a list, but we don't want that for our component here. So what we need to do is we can add this style tag here. Oops, I copied too much. Style, list style, type none, margin 0. We basically remove the default CSS styles of list items. And then if we reload, we don't have that. So yeah, looking pretty nice. I also said that we have the ability to use this on interactive reports. So let's take a look at that. Create a region again, interactive report. Again, we're going to use the same view. And then let's hide some columns so it's not so cluttered. The name one we can, so now I'm on the name column and we can look here at type. And what we can see here is that we can actually select our template component also here. And let's take a look at that. And yeah, you can see it also works in interactive reports. This is maybe nice, like for some context on, you still want a table maybe and want some rich context info. And so this is the way to go. Nice. So now we go into actually showing the real data that's behind the query. So this is just hard-coded values here. So now it's about attributes. So what we can do here, and this is really nice, go into our template again. And we can see here, this is, for example, the title of our restaurant, right? So what we can do is put a placeholder in here, or a tag. So we can say, I call this now name. And now I have basically an attribute called name here. And then I go on, okay, so the stars are also not static, so I can make one here. And I would go through all of these, but I have also prepared that. So here we have now also like the background image as an URL, the ratings as stars, and etc. Everything here is now basically placeholders or so-called attributes. So first apply changes. And where are the attributes? Here, now we have this section down here, custom attributes. So it says no attributes defined. It hasn't picked up them yet, but we can just click this magical button, synchronize from templates. Now it's going to analyze our template and see that we have some attributes in there and come up and basically just create these attributes for us. We could manually add ones, but this is of course faster. Okay, so also interestingly, we can go into each one. We can change the label, so we can say image URL or something, put it nicer. We can say, is it required? We can change the data type from these ones. And one thing that's a little bit, yeah, not nice, because we already have one in use, we can't change the type anymore. So basically we have this in a page already created. It's going to check for that. And then we can't change this type here anymore. Currently, this default is session state value. But when we create like a new one, you can see that there are a lot of other types. Text, so you can just type in static text that's not coming from a query. We can have a color picker, an icon picker, a link to a target page. This is also nice. Select list. Also, interestingly, is like media. That's really cool. Like if you have a blob column with an image, this makes it super easy to or for APIs, will automatically transform this to an image URL. This is what we should do. We should actually now go ahead. We could either remove these instances from this page and recreate them later, and then we could change the types. Or we can just remove each attribute. We could like delete them and then manually recreate them to change this type. But for us, for our small case, it's actually fine that these are all session state value. Session state value is just from your query. Users will select the column. Okay, so let's see this actually in action. So what I need to do now is actually I need to refresh my page designer because it hadn't picked up that I changed the plugin. So in here now, I have this attributes tab up here. And in here, I can now have all these attributes as settings. And I can go ahead and select each of my columns. So I have already image URL, name, open status. Pricing is pricing, reviews. I think it's review count, stars, char, stars, num, take 1, take 2, and until is this one. So now we should hopefully already see this, our actual data being shown here. This is nice. Okay, so Jackie, what was Plumman's question again about attributes?
All right, he has 2 questions. The first one was about the best way to access template component attribute values using the template component custom JavaScript files or code.
Okay, so basically on more complex template components, you can also add like JavaScript. You can make really rich stuff with that and complex, cool stuff, but like for our use case here, this will just be showing data. But like how could you access this value in JavaScript, for example, to make have some settings and then change dynamically the JavaScript behavior. One thing I could do is, for example, in here, there are data tags in HTML. I could say data ID, for example, and then add an attribute with my ID. And then I can add a JavaScript file on page load that loads these values and then picks them up and then does the JavaScript magic in the background. And on the other hand, you could also do is what I do when I do really complex stuff is actually I have a web component, and the web component inside it, I render data attributes. Like there's a data tag, and then you can also add stuff in there. And then the web component then also just reads through them and does it, set up magic, etc. But yeah, sorry, this is really advanced stuff. Like if you just are here and learned template components for the first time, this is, I guess, not for you.
We have a couple of other questions too. Plumman had a second question about accessing attribute values in the report row section. I don't know if you want to take that one now.
Okay, that's actually one thing I ran into myself, and as far as I know, it's not possible to access the attributes in here. It's only like the ones that are here in the help text, and so the attributes that are in the scope of component can only be accessed in the partial. I already see Tim in the chat. Please correct me if I'm wrong. There are also like another attributes that are on the scope of not the row, basically the whole report. So you can change that here to report. And these are then accessible on this level on the report body. And there you can say like general settings, like is it dark mode or anything that applies to all the rows, not basically on a single row.
Perfect. And we have one more question from Farhan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but is it possible to add or update records in template components?
Okay, good question. Template components are really only designed for representing data. So you have no way of adding your own code to handle updates or anything else. What you can still do is like you can hook up links to your components, so you can link to a modal page where you can add it, or you can add a button for another page where you can create a new row, but that's really just the link to that other pages in the template component. It's just your default Apex handling that will then do the job. I hope this
All
helped.
right. Perfect. We got a couple more questions coming in. So Tim commented that it's not possible to use the report row attributes outside of the report row. Help text is the best for details on what's supported. And then we have a question for you from Steve. Can we add a button with a custom action on the template component?
Yeah, that's what we're going to look at later on. Thank you for the question. Okay.
Perfect.
Then next up, there are a few things still not perfect. So for example, here this open code is always black. We want like this to be green when it's actually open and red if it's closed. And yeah, we want, for example, if you look here, we have like here we have two tags. And if you have a good screen, you can actually see here, there's just no text, but there's still this box in here. So I can maybe change the background color so make it more obvious. So yeah, you can see here now there's like this weird empty box. It's also not very nice. So we might want to just hide this box if there's just no content, just a single tag. Okay, and so now we're going to dive into template directives. Template directives is an Apex feature that allows you to create or add logic into your HTML. It's really nice. It's like the JavaScript people with React, Angular, etc. do this for a long time. And it's now also in Apex. You can not only use this in template components, you can also use it in emails, for example, which is really cool. So you could have like in your email, if it's a woman, you can have madam. If it's a man, you can have sir, and you can just check it with this, etc. You can use it in cards regions. You can use it in search results, etc. And it will be, I guess, be more embedded into Apex with each release. And to show you how they work, I actually want to show you a tool we developed. And the tool is Apex Template Studio. It's just ats.unitedcodes.com. And the cool thing about this is we can iterate on our templates way faster. So the issue I have with the template component is I have my HTML in here, and when I need to change something, I go in here, changes, go to the page, reload. If I need to change my CSS, I need to scroll. Okay, here's my CSS file, go into there, change it. And that's just tedious. So what I have here is a tool where we can just enter HTML template, then also go ahead and copy our CSS into there. And it's here. CSS, paste it. And then you can see it catches up here. So the placeholders, we have this data tab. So we can say, okay, name is like restaurant 1. And we can have another one. And stars, it's like, let me copy that quickly. So we have like 3 stars here and 2 stars here, for example. I just enter some stuff in here. So we have actually some, oops, that's not what I wanted. Some real data. Closed. Okay. So now it looks like anything. We can also like quickly copy the image. Yeah, I have to do that in the CSS in here. Copy value. And then in here we can remove the URL part of that. And then we just have some our template set up. So now I said to you, I want to iterate on that so that first, like for example, we don't want the tag to display. So here it's actually nice because it doesn't show an empty value, it shows you the attribute thing here. We want to hide it if it's empty, the tag 2. So what we can do here's our HTML, we have this tag 1 and the tag 2. We have if conditions in our HTML syntax now. So I can say if tag 2, and that's just a value check of true or false. So if it's empty, it's no value, then it's not showing, then it's false. And if it's a value, it's true. Or we can also do like YN checks. And as you can see now, this simple check now hides tag 2 in here. So, okay, we fixed that. Next thing is actually the open status. So this is a little bit more complex. So we have this here, and we can say, okay, open status. Let's do another span in there. And we can say this now a little bit complex. We have a case, that's a value check. And we say if open status, when it's open, we give the class uSuccess text, which makes it green. Otherwise, we add the class uDanger text, which makes it red. So now we dynamically have green or red text in our template.
Philip, we have a question on ATS from Kevin. Which technology is used in the left-hand pane? It looks really cool.
In the left-hand pane. Okay, this is just a plugin from Ronnie. It's a Monaco editor, basically the same as VS Code. And this one here to add the data, it's one of our own plugins. It's Flowforms. You can have a look at that for yourself on this page. Here's a link to it. But thank you very much. We like to hear feedback. Okay, so this already looks pretty cool. Another thing you might not think about, but in some apps you let your users decide their own theme style. So for example, here in this app, there's an administration, and then I could say, okay, I like dark mode more. I want to have Vita Dark, for example. I'm an Oracle employee. I only want to see Redwood or something else. So then it kind of falls apart. So here in the Template Studio, I also have this paintbrush button to quickly change the theme style. And you can see what's going on here. This doesn't look good. Like the text is now white, and yeah, it's definitely not representing my dark mode style. And the Apex team, of course, already thought of something to handle this one, and this is CSS variables. And CSS variables is really, the name says everything. So we have variables now in CSS. We can just, instead of referencing a hard-coded value like white or black, we have like a variable, and this can change for different theme styles. We have a whole video on this on our YouTube channel. Please check this out if you want to get deeper into it, but just a quick run through here. This is the Universal Theme Sample app. I think most of you will know it. It's apex.oracle.com/ut. And in here, there's also a reference section here for CSS variables. And there are a lot of CSS variables in here for each color of the theme style, and for like the state colors, success, for the component colors. So this is like most important for us. So we have, for example, a text default color somewhere here. Text default color, this one here. And this is like for a light theme, it's black. For a dark theme, it's white. And depending on like here, the icon background color or border colors, everything like that, we can just reference. So small change in our CSS here. We actually said here background color is white, so we hard-coded that. What we can do instead is say background color, and we are referencing with this var function dash dash, that's always a prefix for CSS variables, ut component background color. So we can already see here, nice, it's fitting to the dark theme mode now. Color is also, we want to use the default color automatically worked here actually, but still. And now if we switch back to Vita, it's fitting that theme. If we switch back to Redwood, it fits that theme. So yeah, if you support multiple themes in your app, you really want to get into CSS variables. Okay, so now I did my changes. I just quickly bring them back to my template component here. So just paste the CSS back, and in here we also just want to update the HTML.
Philip, we have a question from Plummin that says, you've loaded the CSS templates for all UT styles.
Okay, so this is, I think, a background question on how this works. So yeah, just some context here. This is on the right side, it's an iframe. So when I switch, I just reload the iframe and it's loading a different CSS file. Yeah. Also, like some interesting stuff. I'm currently not logged in, but you can just sign up with a United Codes account. It's completely free, and you can then save this template and then later on iterate on it, etc. So yeah, it's Apex Template Studio. Okay, so I updated my things. So let's actually change also to show you it doesn't only work in my tool, it also works in Apex. So Vita Dark. And if I go now onto my page here, it looks nice. You can also see like this doesn't work anymore because like we haven't applied the attributes in here. We added it the first iteration where we hard coded all the values. Then later on we added the attributes and we haven't assigned the columns to the attributes yet. But yeah, we're gonna focus on this one. And yeah, you can see here like the tags aren't looking nice. I would now go ahead and maybe add also some styles for the tags for this. You can't really read the dollar or euro signs here. So if you really support multiple themes, you have a lot of work to do. Then we come back to the question before of actions. So maybe we want to like trigger something from here. Like the question before said, I may want to add a restaurant in here, or I want to maybe write a review or something. And we can easily like link to other parts of our app through actions. So let's go back into our plugin. And in here, scrolling down, we have first action positions and action templates. And it's a little bit confusing at first, but like action position is just saying where I want to have the possibility put actions, and templates is how do they look. And most importantly, like what we could do, of course, we could hard code a link inside this HTML here to any of our pages. We could do like open up this page. This will destroy the reusability, because if we want to reuse it in another part of the app and want to link to anything else, then we would have to copy this whole plugin and change it there. We want to define the link on the page designer page for this instance of our thing. And that's what actions allow us to do. So enough talking, let's just get started here. So we're gonna create a action position. So this is again, where is the action placed? We're gonna say it's like title line, and we can say it's a link or a template. We're just going to put link. That's the easiest thing. And for link, we don't even need to provide an action template. And we can just say, okay, in here, title line, so next to the line, we can say if, I'm going to copy something, if Apex dollar has action buttons, we're going to render this action button. And I actually have a different title in here than I've prepared in my notes. So I need to change this. So this is just the name or the static ID of the action. Apply changes. And then let's go back to Page Designer. Reload again. When we change our template component, we need to reload. And you can see here now, we have this new actions thing. We can right click to create an action, position, we have this one title line, and then we can say, okay, redirect to page in this application, go to any page. What I'm going to do for demo purposes is just doing a small alert. So it's just JavaScript alert, and then we can reference, for example, the name of the restaurant. And yeah, it doesn't show anything. Oh, I messed something up, I think. I think I need to provide an action template. I was wrong. So sorry, action templates, add action template. So we say like link, and it's type button. I'm not sure. I have a backup. Don't worry. If it doesn't work, I'm going to do the backup.
Even the master of template components himself can mess up from time to time. Happens.
Yeah, it happens. Okay. I think I messed something up. Maybe I don't see it or anything. Didn't I save it maybe? If has action, I think title line. I will try this, and if it doesn't work, I will just go to my backup. Oh. Yeah, this is definitely not. Okay, because okay, I sorry, I know what I did wrong. I choose this this link thing here. I actually wanted to choose a different one. So in link, you actually need to provide your own link, and so you have to build your own link. So let's try that again. I should have added like an A tag in here now. Like this is just the URL now, but we can add another one here, and we say just call this review line or something. Review button. Then my sample also works, and we say it's a template, and we have just not we can like choose a default thing. We have just created this link thing, and it's actually a button, I guess. But so when I go into the action templates, let's create another one, and I say, okay, this is a button. We can also have a menu where there are multiple sub entries. So we say button and also call this button, and just keep it as it is. We just say create, and now go back to our review button thing here and say predefine this button. So now it's set up as it should be. And now we can then go into our reviews here. Add again, if Apex Solar has action buttons, review button. Again, this is the same ID as this one here. Apply changes. And then we're going to copy this JavaScript, add an action, review button. So now the correct one. Now we actually have to say label, say add review or something. And then again, we just say redirect to URL. And I think we can also say it's a text, so it's like text with icon. And then I could provide an icon here. It's hot. And now hopefully we have a nice little link button here, and it works. Okay, so
we have a question from Philip, or from Vito. It's saying, is it possible to add dynamic actions on those actions?
Yeah, this would be really nice to have. Now it's already in the Ideas app, but currently it's only like redirect to page, and redirect to URL. So what I do most of the time is trigger some JavaScript in here. So there's this Apex Actions thing, so you can create like a URL link that will trigger an Apex action, or you can just call a JavaScript function here. But unfortunately, like this isn't easily possible yet. Hopefully next release or something. Okay, so I hope this is not too confusing. Wasn't too confusing with my error, but yeah. So we can now link to any like a modal page to add a review to this restaurant, etc. So this is how you integrate basically navigation, so any interactions to your template component. And the important thing is on this page designer side, I define what I want, how I want to use it. So the template component can be generic, fitting any use case. So I could say maybe in this time I don't want a review button, so I can just remove them, or I can like also add multiple ones if I want to. So just to show you that. And it's then up to the people implementing the template component on the page to decide which actions they want to use. All right. This was a little bit funny. Okay, another cool thing is selection support. And this is something that's 24.1. So I'm going to my backup here. And so this actually has a nice button here. It's like a favorite button. And in here, you can see on the left side, we have this selection thingy. And this might be useful for like any UI where you want to maybe pre-select a few rows to process or something. You can make a nice UI with that. And that's like missing in many other Apex components, I would say, like something like this. But template components can solve this now. And okay, enough talking. How does this work? So first up, let's have a look at the page. It's pretty similar. And this is the Yelp one. And also look at the plugin in here. And here we have this section. If Apex $selection assigned, and it's just this one, div class t content row selection Apex $selector. It's, yeah, you won't memorize that. I'm not sure if it's here. Yeah, it's here, Apex selector. But I can just you can just take a look at the internal components, how they implemented it, or I can share this one, so you can just copy this. Okay, then we also have a section down here, and I'm not sure actually if we have. No, we don't actually have one. So this is we don't need to configure anything, but in the page designer again here, on the attribute section, if we scroll a little bit, we have this row selection thing here. And we can say none, focus only, single selection, multiple selection. So let's actually take a look what they do. So first, none is pretty self-speaking. It's nothing happens if you click on here. Next one is pretty boring. It's focus only. So it's adding a clickable area, which will just put an outline so you know you can tap through them or click, get this indicator, but it's no action assigned to it. Then the next one is single selection. It only adds this field current selection page item. And this, you need to add any page item, probably a hidden one in your case. Mine is visible just to show what happens. So we have this icon, this input here, this item. If I click on anything, we get the value in here. Which value you're asking? It's the one where I set, in this case, name primary key. You need to assign a column as primary key. Then this will be used. And at last, we also have this multiple selection. We also get another selector here, and this is one of type checkbox. So I have added a checkbox also here, type checkbox, select all, just the regular checkbox. And then if we say use that, that's not the one, that Apex will automatically treat this as a check all my items, please, item. So in this field now, we can see like colon separated all the IDs of the restaurants I selected. Nice. And yeah, I remembered, actually you need to enable something. You need to go into here, standard attributes, and here's this has row selection support. You need to activate that for it to work. So yeah, this is selection. Okay, so there are a lot of stuff you can also do if you add interactivity. So this is one of the first ones I created. This is a small FAQ one, but just to get you started on what you can achieve if you go further. So this is just a simple collapse and show thing. So anytime I click here, I will open this or show this thing. If I click again, I will hide this. And this is just simple JavaScript in the sense of I load the page, I have a specific class on them. On each, I add a click listener, and if somebody clicks, I check, is it already opened? If not, open. If it is, close. And yeah, this adds another level of complexity, of course, to your development. But this is also like, I guess, like most people would also benefit if they just add like a representational thing like we did here, showing your data in a nice fashion. Okay. Are there any other questions?
We don't have any in the chat at the moment, but if anyone has them, please enter them and we will of course answer you.
Okay, so yeah, please add your questions. I can show another thing, and this is like sharing. I guess most of you will know about apex.world. It's a Apex community site, and here we also have a plugin section. And we already have a lot of plugins or template components in here, 39 at the moment. And it's really cool to see what people have come up with or you created with this. And this is all free. You can just download them, include them into your app. You don't need to do anything. Cool thing from Tim, he has like, for example, this YouTube embed. So you just enter the URL, I guess, and it automatically shows this cool embed. That's a creative way of using them. Plum just created one where you have this like nice person view. Louis did a lot in the last time, so filter is not applied.
Do you have to do anything special to create or share your template component? Like, do you have to be a known Apex developer, or can anyone add a template component and share it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently, it's a little bit, you have to do a little bit. Here's this section, GitHub for contributors. So it goes through what you all need to do. So you need to have a GitHub repository, publish your stuff there, and then you need to include an Apex plugin JSON file. That's basically having basic information for us to see here, what's the current version, what type of plugin you have, and then you can submit your plugin. In the future, we want to make it easier, so you can just basically drag the export file. If you just want to share it with like any friend or colleague, not publicly on apex.world, you can just go into any template component, and here on the right side, here's export plugin. And if I would click export, I will just get a SQL file, and I can just import that on any other environment.
Perfect. We have a couple of questions that have come in if you're ready for them.
Yeah.
So from Pravin, we have, can you give an example for a workflow? And I'm not sure if he's talking about a template component development workflow or what kind of workflow, but
okay.
if we need more info,
Okay.
we can.
Yeah, sure. Like I'm just interpreting this as development workflow. You can like specify it, Pravin, if you like. But I actually I did a recent one, and this is like this gallery thing here where we in the template studio where you can see your creations or the ones other have created. And I really started in the template studio. I saw, okay, how should this look? And then I created my styles, my HTML, my CSS, and then when I got the looks right, I just copied the stuff over to Apex, created a plugin template component, and pasted my HTML and CSS, and then did the stuff in Apex. So yeah, this is my workflow. If you, of course, you want to use AI to generate like HTML, you do that at first, I would say.
Perfect. We have another one from Jens asking you to say something about the slots, the new thing from 24.1.
Oh yeah, slots is crazy. Slots is basically, for now we only had, or for like last release, we only had the ability to add like some actions or links. But with slots, you could like put any other region inside a region. So you could, like you are used to with like here the page designer, you have like this, this is just a normal report, or if you have like a static region or something, we have in there like already a slot for region body. We can put items in there. We can put buttons in there. We have like positions for buttons. And if, for example, you want your own looking hero component, like if you like something similar in that way, but stylized to your company branding, you could say, okay, I create this outer element with the company image, but like people should still be able to put a name and also put a button in there. So you can say, okay, slots allow you to put a button in this position. So can maybe just look at, do I have an example in here? No, I don't have an example. But let's create a slot quickly. So there are, I'm pretty sure there are like only possible for region only, and that's why this was added. Let me quickly check. No, they are not. Cool. So you can add a slot, like its name, like button, static identifier is button. And you can say, what do you support to be in there? So no, we don't want regions. We don't want items. We want buttons. Interestingly, like if you say all items, you could say which item. So for example, you envision that there's some date picker in there. Sure. And then people can only put a date picker in there. And then you add the slot into the component. And so it's just like that. I would say I haven't tried this out, unfortunately, with this, but we now get this report container. I think it's in here. So it's another div outside our whole thing, and then we could make our cool stylings, etc. And then we would allow people to add buttons and the date picker to this slot. So it's button. So maybe let's just try it. And it's button. And okay. I think this maybe is too ambitious to show ad hoc, but
We do have one more question that I think will probably be our last when you're ready for it.
So Jens, wrapping this question up, I won't be able to show this live, but yeah, good example would be like custom company hero here, and you can say people are allowed to add a button in here, just a normal Apex button. So you embed other components or items or buttons inside your div. For example, I used one here where I moved this button actually like to the bottom. So this is like a hacky use case where I have like some weird negative margin. So this would be over this, but actually because of it, the template component, which adds a negative margin, I can add buttons in here that are displayed like in this other region. Okay, next question.
All right. Our last question is from Tim, and I invite our audience as well to answer this question in the chat. But what are some things you would like to see added to template components in the future? Is there anything
Definitely trigger a dynamic action from the actions. Oh yeah, spontaneously, I'm pretty happy.
Perfect. If there are no other questions, I'll switch back over here. Hey. Thank you for that. That was a really great session. I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching, joining us, and those of you especially that interacted with us in the chat and asked questions. I think this was really fun. For our first United Codes Live, we didn't have any super huge technical disasters, so I'm happy. But we plan to do this pretty often. We'll commit to doing this again next month for another United Codes Live. So stay tuned for an announcement on that, on date and time. And if you have any questions in between United Codes Lives, you can always reach out to us at live@unitedcodes.com, with any comment suggestions. If you want to see a topic in the future, we're happy to take your requests into consideration. And Philip, you want to say anything before we let everybody go?
Just thank you very much for your attention. Any questions, just contact us.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.